So, all in readiness now for the bowl out to commence. India bowling first. Dhoni has taken his position behind the stumps. Sehwag will bowl the first ball. A little surprised, Dhoni is standing right back. It's sometimes better if he's right up next to the stumps. He hits. India open their account. This is different for even the players out there, Sunny.
Yes, I think what he's got to make sure he doesn't bowl a no ball. But that's why the umpires are out there, because a no ball won't count.
Yes, it won't count, but Sehwag will be relieved. I've hit the stumps, he'll say. I've not even bowled a single ball. Well, Gucci, you down there, what do you reckon?
Well, I reckon Umar Gul's coming on. I'm not sure about in-swing or out-swing. I think bowl blooming straight is going to be the answer here. But they've changed. Umar Gul was coming out to bowl. Now he's gone back and Yasser Arafat's coming on. It's all about pressure, this, isn't it?
Yes.
He's not off his normal run-up either.
Are you hearing any tactics being discussed there? Hold it, seam up, cross seam, whatever?
I don't know about tactics. I think it's just look to the heavens and pray, actually.
Well, this is Arafat now for Pakistan, and he misses. The crowd getting into it. What's the mood there, Gucci?
Yes, Harbhajan Singh coming on. Yasser Arafat going for the full toss, not being successful. Got to go for your normal style. Is Harbhajan Singh going to go for the off spinner or the doosra?
He hits. 2-0 India.
That's 2-0. Could be a
just to remind you, this is cricket, not soccer. 2-0 India.
And now the pressure really on Pakistan.
Yes, and I'm under pressure as well.
Arafat missed the first time round, tried to hit the ball on the full, and not at his normal pace. Just came off a 3-yard run-up, and maybe that's not easy.
Well, these are fantastic scenes. Just seeing the players. Well, Harbhajan goes on to celebrate.
Yes, Harbhajan looking as delighted as if he's taken a wicket. And yes, in the context of the game, it is a wicket.
So the two off-spinners doing the job. Umar Gul comes up for Pakistan. You can see that they're not bowling off a full run-up. Gucci, any reason for that? Not bowling off a full run-up?
I don't think that's a bit of a mistake, because you don't normally, you don't get your rhythm, do you, if you just jog up. You're trying to put the ball there. What you've got to do is bowl it normally and back your ability.
Absolutely right. Here goes Gul. Misses. By a big way. It's still 2-0 India.
Well, I think it's a big mistake not bowling off a decent run-up. I can understand not bowling off your full run-up, because then there's the danger of a no ball. But I think you've got to get some rhythm to be able to bowl the ball on the stumps. And you can see how wide the ball has gone.
Here's Uthappa. He hits. 3-0 India. Pakistan have to hit with all their remaining deliveries if they have to tie this. One miss and it'll be 2 points for India.
And you can see from the faces of the Pakistanis that they are now under severe pressure. Afridi, Asif and Sohail Tanveer left for Pakistan to bowl.
Yes, I'm surprised still not off a full run-up.
These four: Brazil, Russia, India and China. And we are moving, as you know, from a unipolar to a multipolar society, from a United States worldview to a global worldview. And many economists think that by 2040, BRICS will, just those four countries will actually overtake the G6 in less than 40 years. And the emerging economies, as you will know, many represented here, are already discovering that there are extra places that you can sell your stuff other than the United States. And here we have sales by emerging economies to China. So what about these territories? I would say go and look at the map again. Who here has been to Kazakhstan? Kazakhstan is a fascinating place, isn't it? Beautiful. Amazing country. It's the size of Western Europe, and yet most people cannot find it on a map. There it is, this huge place, a very important oil country in the future, strategically located. I'm just saying there are many, many other stories that we need to concentrate on, not just the India, China, Japan story in that particular part of the world. And it's fascinating, exciting, and you have read so much about it. Many of you live in these countries, and you know far more than I. I just want to share a couple of quick stories. One exciting one for me is a company like Aditya Birla in India, which not many have heard of in Western Europe, but it's a 24 billion corporation, one of the world's most cost-efficient aluminium and copper producers. Just one of its many companies in this huge group is a Fortune 500 company, and so on. Aditya Birla has just made a decision to go into retail. And they will have maybe 150 retail stores within the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 15 years. That's more than Walmart has today. And all of those stores will be in India. And just in one company. This company last year had 0 retail stores, but just made a decision to experiment in retail with an aim within 24 months to have their first 3,000 stores open. So watch out. This is a country, India, can produce and does produce 860,000 IT graduates every year. 100 times the output of my entire country. I know it's only a small country with 60 million people, but still, this is an awesome giant for the future. A giant which can produce a single company, Infosys, which trains 25,000 IT graduates this year in its own university, 4 times the output of my entire nation, just from this little IT company growing at 40% per year. But there are challenges. The old outsourcing story, as you know, is nearly over. And why is that? Cost. When we have costs rising in some parts of this industry by up to 40% a year, then it's not long before you erode the competitive advantages of outsourcing. Because as you know, you need quite a big difference in price to be able to pay for the risk and to be able to manage it effectively. So we'll see shifts. Someone's here from Pakistan. Who's here from Pakistan? We were talking about the potential of your country. 40% of the cost of India, 60% of the cost of India, depending on where you are. 100,000 IT graduates looking for work today, and you will capture some of this stuff.
Okay, I want to call on this gentleman right here.
Thank you. My name is Hitisham, and I'm a Fulbright scholar here in the United States. Of course, I haven't read the book, but my observations are based on the presentation made by Christine. Unfortunately, I found some of the, there is a lot to debate about, but I understand I am a participant only. I can make only use of limited time. I found some of the arguments were very selectively used, and only one side of the picture was presented. For example, a couple of examples. You said Kashmir, Pakistan has no legal basis on Kashmir. I don't understand what sort of legal basis should we have. You have mentioned about the UN resolution. You have mentioned that India went to a Security Council, and Security Council said that let the Kashmiris decide. Let us have a plebiscite there. So that's a legal basis. Go and ask the Kashmiris with whom they want to go. My second observation. Yes, we had a beautiful lawn back there in our homeland, but it was late 1970s, at the peak of Cold War. Soviet Union just entered Afghanistan, and here was the CIA and the Americans. They went to Pakistan and Afghanistan, and fortunately, incidentally, they found an ally in the form of ISI or whatever, and they jointly created this jihad narrative. Kashmir is not the only thing which is behind those groups which you are calling the jihadis and terrorists. In fact, Kashmir has always been there. The jihadis, the rise of jihadis has been after the Soviet Union entered, and then CIA went there and worked with ISC, and the jihad narrative was brought, groups were made and fought with, and then the Soviets were pushed out. And then US left Pakistan and Afghanistan in the lurch, and Afghanistan fell into the hands of the warlords.
All right, so you need to read my book, because every single thing that you just said is fictional. Let's first begin with the UN Security Council Resolution 48. Sir, have you read it? Have you read?
No.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is go on to the UN Security Council's website and read that fabulous resolution that every Pakistani points to, but which not a single one has read. I also then want you to take the actual version from the UN Security Council, and then I want you to compare that to the claims made by Pakistan's permanent representation to the UN. And you're going to understand your confusion, sir. So the resolution is actually very clear. There are 3 steps. They were sequential and they were conditional. The very first step was that Pakistan was supposed to demilitarize to the satisfaction of this UN body that was to be established. Then, conditional upon the UN being so satisfied with this demilitarization, India was also supposed to demilitarize with a presence being permitted to defend itself against Pakistani aggression. The third, having both of those 2 steps taken place to the satisfaction in sequence to this preferences of the UN, then the plebiscite would be held. So all those Pakistanis that are so upset about the plebiscite that never happened, they have their own government to blame, because Pakistan never fulfilled the first necessary but insufficient condition. So I'm going to encourage you to actually read that before you ever make such a fool of yourself again by presenting it in public, right? So just do yourself a favor by reading the darn thing. Second, I want you to also learn a little bit about your country's Afghanistan policy. Sir, do you know that it was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto that began the ISI cell in Afghanistan? That in fact it was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto who began setting up what became the 7 Donkeys before the Soviet Union even crossed the Amu Darya. Did you know this, sir? No. I want you to answer my question. Did you know this, sir?
No.
Okay, so this idea that somehow the United States used Pakistan in some sort of some sort of effort to dispel the Soviets is completely an incorrect reading of your own history. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, after King Zahir Shah was ousted, and Daoud came to power and began implementing pro-Soviet policies, driving the Islamists into Iran and Pakistan respectively, Zulfikar set up an ISI cell so that he could then use those disenchanted, disenfranchised Islamists to become vectors of Pakistan's policy in Afghanistan. Did you know that we first sanctioned Pakistan in April of 1979 because of advances made in its nuclear weapons program? If we were so interested in sucking them into our evil jihad designs, we sure did make that difficult for ourselves, because when the Soviets did finally cross in, we actually had to do a bunch of maneuvering to get a waiver. And did you know that the first monies did not go into Pakistan until 1982 because of that requirement to get a waiver? So before you go and you blame the United States for using and abusing poor Pakistan, you should familiarize yourself with your own history, because in fact Pakistan had been instrumentalizing Islamists long before the Americans even knew what an Islamist was. Now, going to your next point about the Americans just leaving Pakistan high and dry. Well, this comes to, and Steve Cohen is here. I'd like to hear him talk about this. Let's talk about the Pressler Amendment. Right? The Pressler Amendment was actually designed so that Pakistan could continue proliferating while we continued arming you, right? Because we'd first sanctioned you in April '79. Everyone understood the name of this game. When we withdrew in 1990, we withdrew. Pakistan, however, continued mucking around with the Islamists. So this idea that the jihad today are the Taliban of today and Al-Qaeda, this is also a really grotesque and empirical error that I don't quite frankly expect from a Fulbright student. So I'm happy to have more exchanges with you, but I think you should read my book, because everything that you said is a highly stylized retelling that you get from Pakistani media in your curriculum.